Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are breaking down the stark, predatory economic structure of the street trade. And we're going to look right past the usual stereotypes and instead really examine the precise, frankly merciless mathematics that drive this entire underground economy. We're going to do this by tracing one deeply personal narrative. It's a young man's journey from a neighborhood corner all the way to a legitimate business empire. Along the way, we'll uncover some incredible insights about risk, credit, and wealth that honestly apply to all of us. Let's get into it. To really get how this system works, you gotta put yourself in the shoes of a 14-year-old trying to balance a totally impossible equation. Picture this. You're watching your mom work tirelessly, right? Scrubbing offices from 6 at night until 2 in the morning. But the numbers just never seem to work in your family's favor. The refrigerator, it holds a margin of error of exactly 0. You are watching someone do everything perfectly right, but the math simply doesn't add up. Like the quote says, it's a math problem with no right answer. Section 1, the whistle and the corner. Okay, so how exactly does this economic trap get set? Well, imagine a 19-year-old guy named Rhett, guy whose sneakers are, never dirty, pays you $40 just for sitting on your own front steps. Your only job? Whistle when a gray Impala turns onto the street. Now, to a 14-year-old, this doesn't feel like a job interview at all. It just feels like incredibly easy money for doing exactly what you were already doing. But think about what that $40 actually represents. It's immediate, untaxed liquidity right in your pocket. Instantly, your brain starts running the numbers. You literally can't help but contrast this instant $40 for doing practically nothing with your mother's reality. She's scrubbing offices for a meager $9.25 an hour. The physical toll of her labor is just immense, yet the financial reward, it's fractured and it's delayed. And this perfectly illustrates the true hook of this entire underground economy. You've got a past due light bill of $187 printed in glaring red sitting on the kitchen table. So the street arithmetic tells you something profound and incredibly dangerous. Your simple 2-note whistle just out-earned your mother's mop. No one actually has to come recruit you into this life because the numbers, they do the recruiting for them. It's a microeconomic decision based entirely on the immediate incentive structures right in front of your face. By 15, you move up to working the corner, making a flat $100 a shift. And you quickly learn the strict unspoken corporate rules of the block. Rule number 1, everything belongs to somebody else, and absolutely none of that somebody is you. Rule number 2, money and work never, ever ride in the same pocket. What you're actually learning here is the choreography of risk. See, you move the product because you're young, which means the justice system goes lighter on you. It's a risk that someone higher up has brilliantly and ruthlessly priced right into their business model. They take the profit, and you absorb the legal exposure. Moving on to Section 2, the illusion of wealth. So by 16, you get offered what sounds like a promotion, but the source material outlines an incredibly predatory concept at play here, known as consignment. They hand you $1,200 in product, but you owe $800 guaranteed by Sunday. If you get robbed, the money's due. You get arrested, money's still due. The risk rolls entirely downhill. You basically become the only person in the entire supply chain with a guaranteed loss and only an optional profit. Out on the street, credit isn't a favor to help you grow, not at all. It's a restrictive collar designed to keep you permanently indebted. Time just moves mercilessly in this economy. It rapidly ages you from a 14-year-old lookout to a 19-year-old running the daily count. Without even realizing it, you're actually progressing through the ranks of a very dangerous but highly functional business school. By 19, your line is grossing $6,000 a week. You can count $4,000 in worn, crumpled bills in under 6 minutes flat. Honestly, it's the only real certification you hold. So you've achieved what looks like incredible cash flow. But here's the catch. What good is massive cash flow if you can't actually use it in the real world? And that brings us to a crucial point. Because your quote-unquote industry doesn't exactly issue pay stubs or W-2s, you get hit with what the source calls the unbanked tax. You're paying $200 over market value for rent simply because you pay an untraceable cash. And hey, you can't exactly complain to the authorities. Your money cannot sign a lease, it can't open a bank account, and it certainly cannot build credit. Oh, and legal fees? They aren't just an unexpected emergency anymore. They're basically a constant, necessary subscription service just to stay out of a cage. You might have thousands of dollars stashed away in air vents. And yeah, you might drive a car that's technically registered in your cousin's name because your name can't legally hold anything of value. But you start realizing a pretty devastating truth. You have money, sure, but you own absolutely nothing. And the whole structural arrangement, it's designed that way on purpose. It's specifically built to keep you trapped in a cycle of generating cash for someone else. Section 3, the true cost of exposure. This illusion of wealth eventually crashes into the terrifying reality of exposure. Now, exposure isn't just risk, it's a state of constant life-altering vulnerability. The asymmetry of risk here is just staggering. It means a minor petty dispute over, say, $220 can literally leave a 16-year-old kid dead in the street. It means you catch a random fever one night, so your friend Deshaun covers a delivery drive for you. He gets pulled over for a busted taillight, and boom, he ends up with nearly 12 years in federal prison. The entire difference between your continued freedom and his lost decade, a simple fever. If you run a quick census on the 11 guys who started on the strip with you, the data is incredibly grim. 2 are dead, 4 are in prison, 3 are just gone, and 0 are rich. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. 0 are rich. You realize this isn't some business you can eventually retire from, it's a machine. A machine that literally converts young men into disposable cash, leaving absolutely none of them wealthy at the end of the line. Which brings us to Section 4, paying the exit fee. So realizing this trap, you decide to get out. You go to the boss, a guy named June, and you settle your account down to the very last dollar. You give back the phone in the corner because, well, you never actually own them anyway. You were just renting space in his market. But the street, it still exacts a hidden exit fee. Shortly after you leave, your apartment gets broken into and $22,000 is stolen right out of your air vent hiding spot, and you just have to eat the loss. There's no police report to file. What's even more frustrating is that the cash you do have left barely works in the real world. Fast money's final insult is forcing you into a liquidity trap. You have to spend it at this agonizingly slow pace on basic groceries and rent, $20 at a time, because you can't deposit it anywhere without raising massive federal red flags. Section 5, building legitimate wealth. At 23, you step off the corner for good. You take a job at a place you've known since you were a kid, Ellis Grocery, making $9.50 an hour. The owner, Ellis, actually takes the time to teach you legitimate business straight out of a composition notebook. Years later, when his health fails, he sells you the grocery store for $150,000, and he holds the financial note himself. But halfway through signing the paperwork, it hits you. You recognize the structure. It's a front. It's the exact same take now, pay later machine as the corner, but with one massive fundamental difference. The man holding your debt is sitting across the table, actively hoping you win. You finally see the real difference here. Street credit is a restrictive collar where failure is severely punished, while bank credit, legitimate credit, is an empowering ladder where success is completely mutual. And it turns out, you are shockingly good at this. The corner, as harsh as it was, ended up being a highly effective business school. Over 11 patient years of keeping legible paperwork, paying your taxes, and building real banking relationships, the banks actually start saying yes. You buy the building, then you buy 2 more down the block, eventually building a real estate portfolio worth over $3 million. And you know the most glorious part of this entire achievement? It is entirely 100% on paper. It's protected, it's legal, and it actually finally belongs to you. So what do you do with this? You use this legitimate equity to pay it sideways. You pay off the remaining $61,000 on your mother's house with one clean cashier's check. When Deshaun finally gets out of prison, nearly 12 years later, you hand him the keys to a vacant storefront in your building so he can open the barbershop he always dreamed of. And when Reed comes home, you offer him clean, legitimate shifts at the store. Honestly, this is how broken community economies are actually repaired, not from the top down, but sideways. You balance the debts that can't be paid back by offering a ladder to those who are still trapped. But the macroeconomic challenge still remains, right? Because the cycle is always waiting to repeat itself. One day, you look out your legitimate storefront window and you see a new 14-year-old sitting on the steps being offered $40 for a whistle by an older kid in clean sneakers. You know exactly what that $40 sounds like to a boy doing his mother's tired math. So we really have to ask ourselves, as we look at the pure economics of our communities, how do we restructure this equation? When the next kid sits down and does the math, what legitimate opportunity can we build that will finally outbid the corner?